Hi, AFA family. I'm Jerame Davis, the Executive Director of Pride at Work. I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there in person with you today. I contracted a cold right before it was time to travel, and we decided that it would be best if I wasn't there in person and getting folks sick. So we made this video that includes the same information in the presentation that I was going to give there. Unfortunately, it was designed a little bit to be interactive. And we won't be able to do that here. So hopefully you'll forgive me when those parts are a little awkward as we go over them, because they tend to have been meant for discussion instead of just me talking. I also want to thank President Nelson for the time to address you. I want to make a particular thank you to Guy Bosworth for reaching out to me and asking me to do this. So let me share my screen here and I will get started with the presentation. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about gender pronouns. We'll talk about why pronouns are important, some of the basics, how things have changed, what's going on with they. Then we'll have a little conversation about brothers and sisters as we use it in the labor movement, and then how all of this can be applied in your union life. So what are gender pronouns? Well, they're the words that we put in place of someone's name when we're referring to them. She, her, they, them, he, him. I mean, we learned this stuff in primary school, right? So we all know that, right? Things have changed a little bit, and maybe there's some catching up that we need to do. But why is this so important? Well, it's become hugely important recently for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that we have more awareness of trans and non-binary people in our society, but also trans and non-binary people and folks who don't use traditional pronouns are more and more common. They're coming out. It is safer for them to do so. They are more protected than ever. And these folks deserve our respect and dignity, which is exactly the first point. Everyone deserves dignity and respect at work and in their union. This is what we fight for every day. So of course, this is an important reason why. Intentionally misgendering someone is insulting and could be viewed as discrimination or harassment. You know, there could be contract language that could, construe this as discrimination or harassment. But again, this is about intentional misgendering. Folks get really concerned about misgendering someone accidentally. Accidents happen. I'm here to tell you accidents happen. I make mistakes. I've been doing this work for over 20 years and I still make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But the best thing to do if you accidentally misgender someone is just say, oh, I'm sorry, and then use the right pronoun going forward. That's how you fix it. Don't overly apologize. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just say, oh, I'm so sorry, and then move on. Also, our unions and workplaces are diverse, and creating an inclusive environment makes everyone feel welcome. You know, especially when we're talking about recruiting younger workers expect and demand diverse and inclusive work environments. This is so important. And getting pronouns right is part of that. It is a signal to other folks about how inclusive and how diverse that workplace is, or also our unions. So, a lot of consternation. A lot of folks are like, why are pronouns? Why is everybody freaking out? What is this they, them stuff? What's going on? Well, what we've learned here is that gender is on a spectrum, but we often talk about it in a very binary way. Male, female, that's all there is, but that's not really true. There's a lot of space in the middle between male and female. Some folks even feel outside of male and female that many folks really identify with and feel best describes them. Male and female just doesn't always cut it. There are actually dozens of gender pronouns in use, which is what makes things a little scary for folks sometimes. But there really are just 3 that are the most common. she, her, hers, he, him, his, and they, them, theirs. The only difference from what you learned in primary school is that they, them, theirs is being used as a singular pronoun now. Although, and I'll get to it in a little bit, we've done that. We do that already. Pronouns, like names, are personal, and they're often deeply connected to identity. Gender is a fundamental part of our identity. And when you use a gendered pronoun, you are telling somebody what gender you see them as. And if you see them as a gender they don't identify with, that becomes very obvious when you use the wrong pronoun. So that can be incredibly insulting because it is so personal to people. So getting pronouns is important, but again, it shouldn't be something that you're sweating bullets over. I want to emphasize that again, that folks do understand mistakes. They don't understand intentional misgendering. So how do we get this correct? Well, if you don't know, ask. It's always appropriate to ask someone their gender pronouns if you're not sure what they are. Excuse me, what are your pronouns? Another way that you can do it is you can introduce yourself using your pronouns and hope that they reflect back. Hi, I'm Jerame. I use he, him. How about you? When in doubt, call someone by their name. Don't guess. Never guess someone's pronouns unless you already know them and what pronouns they use. Ask, or you can also use their name. It may be awkward sometimes to use a name in place of a pronoun. Bob is going to Bob's house, but it's better to be a little bit awkward than it is to be offensive. So err on the side of awkward if you need to. And of course, if you know someone else is using incorrect pronouns, you should gently correct them. Again, this is not something you should make a huge deal out of. You just simply interject and say, Sam uses they, them pronouns, and that's it. Or I know that Sam uses they, them pronouns, and I'm sure they would prefer that you use that, or something along those lines. Whatever feels natural in the moment, just not to make it a big deal, make it a gentle correction and move on. The only caveat to that is of course, if the person who's being referred to by the wrong pronoun is present, you should let them make the correction. Don't step on their toes. Maybe they don't want to make a big deal out of it. Maybe they don't care. Who knows? But correcting folks and helping other folks get it right is an important part of being inclusive. So let's practice this they singular. This trips a lot of folks up, but it really shouldn't. We've done this. I know I've certainly done it most of my life. When asking about someone I know, don't know their gender. Who are they? What are they doing? So let's look at some examples of how we can switch out the gendered pronoun and use they or them or theirs as an alternative. So Sam called her mother. Sam called their mother. Pretty basic. Jorge is going to play his game. Jorge is going to play their game. They are going to play their game. What's her name? What's their name? Is she late again? Are they late again? Pretty basic stuff. It can feel a little awkward at times. I get that. Everybody gets that. But if you practice and you just keep doing it, eventually it becomes second nature. But again, like I said, mistakes happen. I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Don't worry about the mistakes. Worry about getting it right next time. And boy, do we have an overly gendered language. Think about all the times that you use a gendered word in your daily conversations. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. That man standing over there. What is his or her name? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, sister. All of these things unnecessarily gender the conversation, and they make assumptions. You know, how many times I know I've personally been referred to as a woman. Someone has asked me, "Excuse me, ma'am." I'm like, "Excuse me, I'm not a ma'am, thanks." "Oh, I'm sorry." And again, we move on. But think about alternatives. We don't need to say, "Yes, sir." We can just say yes, or "I'm on it," or anything that doesn't include a gendered word. "Thank you" by itself is more than sufficient. That person standing over there, again, person, also gender neutral. What is their name? "Good to see you." And that's more, again, more than sufficient. So as you use your language on a daily basis, as you're talking to folks, think about how you use gendered words and how you might pull back on that and use fewer gendered words and cut back on the gendered language. Again, this just makes us more inclusive and more respectful to those who don't necessarily identify as male or female. Which brings me to brothers and sisters. So one of the most common things in our labor movement is to refer to folks as brothers and sisters. But there are folks who don't necessarily identify as a brother or a sister. So it's not an inclusive term. There are ways around this. We can say brothers, sisters, and siblings, brothers, sisters, and family. We could just say family. We could just say siblings. We could just say friends. The important piece here is to make it inclusive. The recommendation from Pride at Work, the recommendation from the AFA-CWA is brothers, sisters, and family. Yes, brothers, sisters, and family. We don't suggest something like brothers, sisters, and friends because we don't want to downgrade the relationship, right? If you're not a brother and sister, well, you're only a friend. Well, that's not okay. Everybody in our movement is family. We can refer to each other as siblings. You know, a number of young LGBTQ folks that I know refer to each other as sibs. "Hey, sib, how's it going?" I see that on my Facebook all the time. So it can, as most of this stuff, it can feel awkward because we're not used to it. But once you practice it enough, once you work it into your daily vocabulary, it becomes second nature and it becomes much easier. All right, so how do we apply all of this in our union? Well, you can put your pronouns in your email signature. That's a really, simple and easy way to show more inclusion and to let folks know that you understand what's going on with pronouns today. Include pronouns on conference or convention name tags and credentials, right? Just make a space right there on the name tag, right there on the credential for the pronoun to be put in as well. Another thing that we do, for example, that we're going to do at our upcoming convention in August is provide buttons with the pronoun on them. So folks can choose a button that has their pronoun and they can wear it on their lanyard or on their collar or their shirt or whatever. You can add your pronouns to Zoom or whatever conferencing platform you're using to next to your name or as part of your name to show folks what your pronouns are and to hopefully help to encourage them to reflect the same so that everybody knows everybody's pronouns. And you can state your own pronouns when you introduce yourself, right? "I'm Jerame Davis and I use he, him." I didn't do that when I introduced myself today. I apologize for that. I forgot to do it. But again, like I said, I make mistakes too. We make mistakes, we apologize, and we move on. So there are many other ways that you can apply this in your union. There's contract language that you can put into the contracts that you know, encourage or demand folks to use the appropriate pronoun for somebody. You can make misgendering someone an issue, part of discrimination. There are so many things that you can do. Bargaining for inclusive name tags, for example. You could find out if I would pull my membership, but you know, if your members use name tags, maybe there's space on the name tag at work to put their pronoun on. Lots and lots of ways that you can do that. If you're working on something, if you want to pursue this idea further, reach out to us and let's strategize on specific ways that AFA can be more inclusive with pronouns and use the power of our union to make our workplaces more diverse and inclusive. And with that, I want to thank everyone again. Thank you for your time. I hope the information is useful. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, if you want more information, if you need anything, please reach out. All of my contact information is there on the screen. Thanks again for your time, and I hope that you have a great remainder of your meeting. Take care.